Lawrence is a Spurs fan. Lawrence, talk to me. I mean, Harry Kane's performance today, I thought second half he was very good. First half a bit quiet. I mean, what do you do with him?
I was listening to the show and I heard a couple of calls back. You were talking about Harry Kane and you were talking about benching him, and you guys all in the studio, you said absolutely not. And I was a bit surprised by that. I mean, it's a little bit of a rhetorical question, but I know why you're saying that, because obviously his goal scoring is a great goal scorer, but he regularly has not showed up in games. And I'm not just talking about since the whole Man City thing here. He's only in the team right now because he has to be. He doesn't want to be there. But even before that, even during Jose, even during Pochettino, we can talk about the Champions League final. That's another argument. But this guy has regularly not showed up in big games and crunch games, and he always gets minutes on the pitch. He never gets substituted. But listen to me, your ex-footballers, what you put in, you get out, if you know what I mean. If you play Sunday League football, you play Saturday League football. If I turn up and play for my Sunday team and I don't put it in, I'll be off the pitch. Okay, now he regularly does not show up or contribute in games, but he's regularly in the team. Now you don't tell me that within that team that doesn't cause issues, that doesn't cause animosity. There's a couple of other players that I could mention, but I won't. But because we're talking about Harry Kane.
Do you know what though, Lawrence? Do you know what though, Lawrence? Quickly, do you know what though? It doesn't really cause that word that you said. I'm not even going to try and say it, but because when you've got players like that in the team, someone who's as good as Harry Kane, other players like I've played in teams where there's say one player that's far better than the rest. There's no animosity towards them because they know that they should be in the team. So you kind of just accept it. But I was always, and listen, I know a lot of people that kind of feel the same, that the moment a player says that he doesn't want to be there anymore, you're best off doing the deal as quick as possible and getting as much money for him, because once someone comes out so publicly and says, listen, I don't want to be there anymore, I want to leave, like, what are you keeping him for? What are you expecting?
Yeah, I think animosity was probably the wrong word to use, but I'm just talking about the general kind of, if I played in a Sunday team and I turned up every week and this next guy, he was there and he regularly didn't show up and he was really poor, but I was always sat on the bench, that would annoy me. I would get upset with that and I would be asking questions, and I wouldn't, the media and a lot of Spurs fans, they seem to have taken this whole Harry Kane team thing, and he's like, he can literally just turn up and not do anything and still people want him to be on the pitch. I think in the overall big picture, I think he hinders Tottenham more than he benefits them because, Son could be a top man. We've got other players in the team. I just think it breeds a really negative mentality around the team when he's always playing and he never gets benched. He needs to be benched. Everyone needs to kick out the backside, do they not?
I think you're right. I think it's a dangerous mentality when you've got a player who knows he's guaranteed his place in the starting lineup regardless of how he's performing. But I guess that the issue is you haven't really got a like-for-like replacement. I know Son can go in and do a job up front, but they've struggled, haven't they, to get someone to come to the club knowing that they're probably going to play second fiddle to Harry Kane week in, week out. We had a good debate, actually, on the Game Day podcast last week about whether or not Harry Kane should have started that game against Wolves in the week. I was of the belief that he should, because he needs confidence, he needs to score goals. Darren Lewis from the Daily Mirror was apoplectic that Kane started that game. He said he shouldn't have been anywhere near it. What do you think about that?
No, I agree. It shouldn't be anywhere near it. It should be, and I'm not saying, because we're praising you, I'm saying no, you're not really contributing to the team. You're not really, doing it for the team. Everyone has to do their bit, and just because you're Harry Kane and you've scored so many goals, none of these players are bigger than the club. And he's hindering Tottenham because there are other players out there. We are the only team that calls, second striker as a backup striker to Harry Kane. Who does that? What teams in the world do that? They don't do that. So who's going to want to come to a team when already they know, well, even if Harry Kane plays well, I still won't get a look in. Even if Harry Kane's injured, I still won't get a look in. It's just such a rubbish mentality that they've adopted at that team with Harry Kane. When he should be benched, Dele Alli should be benched. There's so many of them players that regularly do not perform, whereas you've got other players on the bench who could come in and do a much better job. The mentality in that team is it's a disgrace. I'm not going to lie. I'm really disappointed with not just Harry under Nuno, not just Poch, it's just, accolades, it's personal accolades, and a lot of Spurs fans have adopted that. They don't really care, he's going to score goals, it'll benefit him. What about the team?
Yeah.
What about the team? What has he won for Spurs, apart from plaudits and a big price tag.
Yeah,
Let's be
listen,
honest.
Lawrence, listen, he makes a good point there in terms of, but do you know what, I think we spoke about it before here, Crookie. I'm telling you, I genuinely believe that Spurs missed the trick in terms of the Danny Ings, because if they were bent on selling Harry Kane, he said he wanted to leave, you sell him, you get Danny Ings in early, you can't tell me that Danny Ings in this team couldn't score, 10, 15 goals, 15, 20 goals in this team if he can stay fit. And certainly then, that buys you a little bit of time in terms of what you do after Harry Kane, because you've got a proven Premier League goal scorer that's sitting right there.
And the difference is, I think, with Danny Ings, you've got a player who has the desire and determination to go and prove himself at a bigger club. Obviously, he went to Liverpool, didn't work out. He's gone to Aston Villa now. Didn't score yesterday at Old Trafford, but was a real handful for the Manchester United defence. And in contrast, you've got Harry Kane, who, for whatever reason, appears to be going through the motions. Now, whether that is because he's disillusioned about the move breaking down, whether he's not fully fit, whether he's just suffering from a bit of crisis of confidence, whether he's not getting the service from the rest of the Tottenham team, at the moment, Tottenham are the losers in this situation. They're not the winners from keeping Harry Kane.
Yeah, I agree. Lawrence is a fantastic call, and I agree with the points. And the points that I said, what you're saying about Danny Ings, Daz, is... why didn't they go and get him?
Just go and get him.
I don't think Daniel Levy was ever wanting to sell Harry Kane. Even 150 million, I think he'd have still made.
But this is my point, Daz. If I say to you, right, you say to me, I don't want to be on the show anymore. Well, what benefit am I getting by keeping you?
Well, exactly. So that's Daniel Levy's fault.
Be a lot easier to find a replacement for Ambrose.
Definitely not.
I agree with you, Daz. Definitely not.
But then you go to Danny Ings and you say, come to Tottenham as a backup striker. He's going to just laugh at you and go, that's not what I'm about. Like, to try, like Lawrence said, to try and find someone to sign that's a half-decent striker that you're saying, oh, by the way, you're not going to play unless Harry Kane's injured, or you'll play in the Europa Conference.
Probably doesn't even play in that. Harry Kane starts every game.
I mean, he's hit the nail on the head, Lawrence, in my opinion. I don't think you should bench Harry Kane in terms... I just think there's no one else, like you said, Crookie, really, to step in. But then, you think when Bergwijn, Son and Moura played in the first game without a number 9... they were a lot better.